All right, so we are out on the lake. We're at a stocked local walleye lake. We're gonna be chasing walleyes, of course, and we're just gonna let the camera run. We're gonna do a raw and uncut video. Again, this is my second time doing it. Hopefully made a few improvements. I got a microphone here. There's a little bit of wind, but the forecast says flat calm. So hopefully we can keep up this little bit of wind and get a few walleyes in the boat for you. So I didn't take you to a crazy special spot where the walleyes are stacked up and we're just gonna see them one after another after another. We're gonna have to work for them in this video. Right now, where the boat is, I actually just pulled up here, got the cameras ready, just looked around a little bit with live scope, and I haven't found the fish yet. So this is a new spot. I've actually never fished before. So we're just gonna run around. I saw one mark. That's all the scouting I've done for this video here, and it probably swam away. So you can see there's actually one right underneath the boat here. So we're just gonna flip on top of that thing, just for the heck of it, just to see. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was fast, probably not a walleye, right? All right, we're starting the walleye video off with a rock bass. So always a good way to do it. Let's try not to lose that night crawler. So this is what I got tied on right here. It's just a little Smeltinator jig, 1/8 ounce with the 1/0 hook. And I got a crawler on there. Just something simple and versatile on this new spot. Something that's versatile that I know I can throw for fish that are high in the water column, right on bottom, anything like that. So this is really, what we're on right now is kind of like a weedy flat. Those look like there's some fish right up there at about 80. We're on a weedy flat, so this will be kind of different than the last time we did this, where we were kind of on a nice flat where there was really a lot of nothing. There's another one a little higher in the water column. I'm tempted to throw at that one first before we hit those two. Let's get a little closer. Let's get to like 50. The wind is actually, it's kind of pointed in this direction. I don't know if there's wind noise on the microphone or not, but where'd he go? There he is, right there. 40. I'll do my best in this video to try and keep my bait or my sonar in the zone here so you can see any potential strikes. But I'm not seeing that fish. So mixed in the weeds like this, obviously you're gonna find a lot of stuff. We've already proven that so far. A lot of times some of those bigger marks, especially if there's one or two of them, like the ones we're sneaking up on right now, a lot of times those will be what you're looking for. But it's no guarantee. Casting up into the wind here. Hope he's on it, yeah. He's looking at it, he hasn't bit. Hope he's got it now. There we go. Spot lock, pray it's a walleye. Oh, and what do you know? We got our first walleye of the video. That actually did not take terribly long. And this is the perfect fish. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Oh, and he snapped my line. He got too crazy. That's okay though. But that's exactly what we're looking for right here. This is gonna be dinner. So I promised my mom and dad that I'd bring home a limit of walleye, and my wife is gonna be coming, and my kids, and we're hopefully going to catch a bunch of these. So this is definitely an under, but like a good size under, some good meat on that one. We're gonna do a fish fry later tonight. I don't know if I'll throw some footage at the end of the video of the fish fry, but this thing's gonna go in the live well right now. So I'm gonna run back and get this guy in here. All right. Okay, so that's a good start, other than the fact that I got to retie my jig already. But that's a good sign, right? You pull up to a spot and there's fish there right away. So this night crawler, I actually may be able to salvage the nub of this night crawler. I'll try not to hide under the frame while I'm retying stuff. I know I'm gonna have to run into the back and grab a scissor here. But aside from that, we should be good to go. So what I'm going to tie up here is just a simple Palomar knot. Palomar is what I use for almost everything. 99% of the time I'm using a Palomar knot. The simple fisherman's knot obviously gets the job done, but Palomar knot is stronger and sometimes easier to tie even. I just got to grab a scissor quick. I got a little bag back here. I fish with so many people all the time when I'm filming and shooting that I just like to keep all my tools right there in that top thing of the bag. But yeah, cut off the excess line there. And yeah, basically what we have right now is a little bit of a nub of a night crawler, but we're gonna give it a try. I think it may still work. There's actually a fish sitting right out in front of us. We'll see if that's even a walleye. I don't even have to take it off spot lock. How do you like that? Okay, now I do have to take it off spot lock if I want to see where he swam. There he is. See if I can get him to come up for it. We're basically vertical fishing for him now. I'll crash it down to bottom. The only problem is we're getting into the weeds now, but anyway, we're gonna keep on looking. Sometimes when you're vertical fishing like that, you can work them upwards and catch them. But also sometimes working it downwards can be beneficial because you have these fish and what these fish are doing is, you know, looking up at the boat is not always a positive. So sometimes crashing it down to bottom and they're less likely to even know that the boat is there. So we're just gonna keep looking around here. Looks like there's one down in the bottom there, but let's see if we can see a better mark that's kind of working itself over by the weeds. That to me looks like a bunch of bluegills and stuff. I'd be half tempted to throw in there, but I got a night crawler on and I'm trying to salvage this night crawler. But we're just gonna keep hunting. Got some stalks of weeds up there around 90. If you're curious too, like what's on the bottom, it's just like a bunch of weeds. So weeds that are not necessarily sticking up as high. These weeds in the distance, around 90 feet right here, those are tall weeds, obviously, as you can see. You know, probably cabbage or something. And sometimes walleyes will be hanging out around those. I like to see them if I can, but sometimes I'll make a blind cast into a big pile of cabbage, just because sometimes the fish sort of show themselves when you're not expecting it. But yeah, maybe I'll make a throw into this little pile here. A lot of times, what ends up showing themselves in these pile of cabbage too is you end up finding bass hanging out in there. Looks like some panfish or bass right here, but let's just take a look. Yep, those were sunnies. You'll always know it's a sunfish when you feel that peck, 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 peck. So I'm gonna put on a new night crawler. They can do fast work on a night crawler, so. We will definitely be experimenting with a lot of stuff today. I like to start out with the jig and crawler just because it's such a versatile offering. You know, you can hang it high in the water column, you can let it drop to bottom, you can fish it in 30 feet, you can fish it in 5 feet of water. But I've got a few different things tied up. I'll show you some of those baits here in a second. But jigging a crawler is so versatile. So I like to start with it because it lets you kind of search around the area, and there's not very many things that are going to pass up a jig and a crawler when it comes to like some of the extra species, you know. So if you're seeing a bunch of fish and you're not sure what they are, I mean, a bass is going to come up and crack a jig and a crawler for sure, right? Same with panfish, you know, they come up and pop. Pike, obviously, you name it. Oop, there we go. That is probably what we're looking for right there. So let's line that puppy up. Get a little closer, make sure, oh, there's another fish in the distance too. 60. Let's see how that goes. It ended up being pretty good. That one's following it down to the bottom there. Oh shoot, was I not recording this whole time? Oh no, I was recording. Okay. That's so confusing. Trying to get used to these cameras. All right, enough distractions. Let's keep going here. So, that was kind of a little rundown why I like to run that jig and crawler a lot, but I'll run through a few of my other presentations here too in a second. Let's see if I can get these fish to go. I should have, oh, here he comes. I should have stopped it a little bit earlier. That fish was thinking I was crashing it down to bottom. Okay, let's crash it. You can see how sometimes they really positively react to it crashing down to the bottom like that. Ooh. Felt a little tick there. I think he dropped it. Sometimes you can get a really positive reaction when it crashes to the bottom. Other times, hanging it right in front of their face is going to be your best bet to get bit. I do think, like, if you don't have forward-facing sonar, it's very reasonable to just crash it down to the bottom every time, because obviously you can't pinpoint exactly where those fish are, and you're going to be fine. Oop, there he is. You're going to be fine. Let's drop him back down. It's kind of like ice fishing. Like, you're not hurting yourself fishing this thing on the bottom. Fish will pick this up off the bottom all of the time. Okay, let's move along here. Let's see, maybe I can make one more cast at that one that's still kind of hanging out there. Let's take a look around at what we got here. A couple of them snuck around to this side. 40. I'm not always super good at those weird sideways casts, so we'll see if we ended up even close. Doesn't look like it. There's one right underneath the boat there. Let's just give him a look. Okay. All right, so we're gonna keep on cruising around here. There's definitely some walleyes floating around, which is good. A good sign. A lot of times in these weed beds, I found, you know, they can be kind of scattered throughout these in little groups of 1 or 2, but every once in a while you'll find a big giant pod and you'll be like, oh, that has to be just a bunch of little bass, right? And then you throw in there and you pluck a walleye out of there. And sometimes all of them are walleye, but sometimes some of them are walleye and some of them are bass, and you know, so you never know. That's kind of the fun of fishing up in the weeds, is it's a little bit more of kind of a variety pack, and it's also a little bit of a challenge as well, because you're sort of working through the different areas. So like last time we did one of these live videos, or not live videos, but the raw and uncut format. Last time we did that, we did it kind of on like an easy button spot. So no weeds, just kind of a big flat where I kind of had known that there were a bunch of fish kind of hanging out. And that was sort of a cool deal, and it's easy to see where the fish are. That looks like that's a weed. It's easy to see where the fish are, and it's easy to just kind of roam around, make it super easy and visual for you guys to see. But on a lot of the lakes, at least in my neck of the woods, and I'm sure in your neck of the woods too, a lot of the lakes are weed lakes. A lot of these lakes are stocked walleye lakes. That looks like a smaller mark underneath us. A lot of them are stocked walleye lakes. And the fish behave a little bit differently. I'm just gonna throw in the weeds there. Saw a couple little bigger blobs underneath on the bottom. Just gonna soak that thing in there. Sometimes it's harder to see the fish, and you gotta just kind of throw where you saw some interesting sonar returns and just let it soak. We're gonna keep on moving. We were set up on a little bit of a saddle here. Now this is a little bit more the top of the flat. You're seeing a lot more cabbage. Not as much of that shorter little weed. We're gonna sneak a little bit out this way. I don't have the map on here. I do think it'd be interesting to show you guys some of the structure that we're fishing. There's one on the bottom there chasing it. Couple down that are tight. Hope you got it. Let's see if it's a walleye. Let's see if it's a walleye. Oh, look at that. We got a walleye. And it looks like another good eater. Oh yeah, there we go. We're gonna do another boat flip. I'll probably snap my line again. This one's got a lot of spunk. Whoa, there we go. There's another one. That's just a perfect eater. How great is that? Mama's having walleye fillets tonight. I'll do a good hold so you guys can see it here. The sun is gonna be tricky, so I'm sure this isn't gonna look beautiful, but there's a look at the walleye right there that was sitting right on the bottom. I thought that was a pretty cool bite. So, sweet. Or should I turn around and show it to this camera? Is that a little bit of a better view? All right, so that one is another one for the live well. Not bad. Not mad about that. So that's a really cool, it's actually a really cool contrast that you guys got to see right there. Get a new crawler. A cool contrast in that first fish. That first fish definitely was up suspended, you know, and those first actually few fish that we were seeing were pretty cool in that, oops, were pretty cool in that like they were up higher, they were suspended, you could see them easily. A lot of times they had buddies, so there were a little wolf pack of a couple of them. But that last fish was right there on the bottom. So that was kind of a neat little deal in that two totally different looking things. Okay, you guys were probably looking at the live scope saying, Nick, get your bait on, because there's fish right there. So yeah, there are definitely some fish hanging out right there. Species TBD, that looks like kind of the right thing. Just kind of hovering it. My mark is the little mark to the left there. And they're not quite willing to be too active on it. Good example of how live scope is not a magic bullet. Doesn't just work. Doesn't just put them in the boat. Sometimes you can put a night crawler right in their face and they're still like, I don't think so. That doesn't look that tasty. My Uncle Gil had a night crawler addiction and he's no longer with us. He ended up in a fish fry. Oh shoot, he was holding on to the bottom there as I was kind of reeling it up. Yep. Missed opportunities. All right, pop on another night crawler here. So yeah, at this point, I would say if you've watched already, you're a bit of a diehard, you're in for the long haul. And I don't know, I think this is a fun format. Last time we did this, I suppose by the time this video comes out, it'll be a couple weeks since the last one. Because I'm shooting this on Monday in June, the first week of June or something like that. So I'm hoping to put this out Tuesday, but I've got Walleye League Tuesday with my buddy Brett McComas. And yeah, so hopefully I can edit this and get it out for you guys pretty much right away. But I feel like I was talking about something, but I can't remember. So anyway, we're gonna keep on running here. We'll keep an eye down on the bottom for what looks to possibly be fish. But also, we'll be looking for those big suspendos. And I do think this is a cool format because this will be a good opportunity for you guys, for me to just kind of talk through what I'm seeing. Okay, so there's a couple fish, obviously, at 60. And if you do have this technology in your boat, I know a lot of people do not really fully utilize it very well. They don't really know what to look for, what they're looking at. Looks like that fish is coming down and checking me out on the bottom there. I'm gonna turn. Oop, did he grab it? Nope. Okay, we're gonna turn around and flip. Now that we're a little bit closer, we're gonna flip at that big mark there that's still suspended. Get them lined up right about there at 40. Oops. Right about there at 40. This was all tangled up. There we go. Okay, let's get back on him here. Where'd he go? Simple. So one thing obviously that's huge is just accuracy, casting accuracy. Let's try and slow this thing down before it gets to him. Ooh, that one's coming up fast. A little bit of wave action probably makes it a little bit seasicky to watch. Ooh, I missed him. I think he just nipped at it there. Yep, he got the back end. They're really not hitting it very hard, I've noticed. So that can make it a little bit difficult sometimes to get the bite. Oftentimes that just means you gotta let the fish eat it a little bit longer. But those last 2 bites have been really just kind of mushy, gooey bites. There we go. These night crawlers can be a little tricky to rig up sometimes. But I will say I've really started to like this Smeltinator jig, specifically for this application. And you know, a lot of people, basically how this bait has been marketed over the last couple of years, it's been as a bass bait. Obviously super good for that moping technique that Gussie won the classic with. Let's make a cast right there. But it's got an excellent hook. Obviously it's got a Gamakatsu on there. But it's also just like the perfect, it's also got the perfect bait keeper for night crawlers. See, that thing's got it. Give it to him for a second. There we go. We'll see if that's a better fish or if that's just another nice eater. We have a random draw tournament. So what happens in the random draw is they draw it the night before, then you don't get to practice. This is one of the lakes where the tournament could be. So, there we go. One of the lakes where the tournament could be. And once they draw tonight at 7 o'clock, we won't be able to fish it. But the probability is that it is not on this lake. But if it is, it looks like we have a good little school of decent unders. This is gonna be a little bit of a tougher boat flip. You know, I'm just gonna go down and grab them. This thing is right around, ooh, right around 20 inches. This is either a perfect under. It's either a perfect under. You know, I'll turn around and show the other camera here. This is either a perfect under or it is an over, like a 20 incher. What do you guys think? The wide angle camera, there you go, now it's a 25. No, I'm gonna grab my measuring device, sneak into the back of the boat, grab my measuring device and see what we got here, because I am curious. Here it is, all right. Let's see what we got. This is literally a perfect under. This thing was like 19 and I don't even know, 15 16ths. It was just a hair under 20. I probably should let this fish go just in case we can catch it tomorrow, but the tournament might not even be here. We'll see. But this is gonna be perfect for the frying pan tonight. Definitely want to make a note of that. So I got my cell phone here. Definitely want to make a note on here that I caught a 19 incher right here. So I'm just going to put that down. I've been playing with the new Onyx app. So my buddy Joel Nelson took a job over at Onyx. A lot of you probably know who Joel is. He took a job there and he's kind of doing a lot of running that whole project. So he's asked me to play with it. He's asked me for feedback. I've given him a lot of feedback on it. So I've kind of been playing with that a lot, and I've been throwing waypoints in there for different spots, just because it's easy to just reference. There are some lake maps on there right now, but it's just a really nice, clean app. So I think it's interesting. I'll be playing with it a lot more. If I like it, I will end up doing a little bit more content on it in the future. But for now, we're gonna keep on trying to look for 19.5 inchers. Let's see, is this still recording? Make sure everything's still going. Levels 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're still cooking here. Hopefully the production quality ends up being a little bit better in this video than last video. Last video, I feel like I messed some things up. I could have done a lot better as far as just having good audio and having some better visuals. I'll be interesting to see how I switch these cameras around. I'll be interested to see how this camera does. I put a little bit of a wider angle lens on it. These fish, these fish I'm not gonna throw at. So there might be some walleyes in there. I mean, should I throw in there and just show you guys what we're looking at? I mean, it's probably bluegill, smaller bass, stuff like that. I mean, it's not walleyes. There could be a walleye in there, but it's I'm gonna have to re-rig, you know, in about 10 seconds here after I work this through here. They're picking at it. The bluegills are picking at it, but the worm survived, luckily. Lives to catch another walleye. This is actually the same night crawler we had from that last walleye. Let's see here. Kind of looks like the same deal right there, but I'm gonna pitch in there. I like how they're positioned right next to the weed edge there. That is where I will find a lot of the absolute biggest schools of walleyes this time of year are right on the edge of the weeds. That doesn't look very good. That looks like a lot of bluegill. But yes. So what I have found is you'll see a lot of walleyes throughout the summer months, because we're sneaking up into summer now. So we're gonna try and talk about summer more. During the summer months, you'll see big schools of walleyes right on the weed edge. And at least on a lot of the lakes that I fish, that's where you'll see big groups. That looks like it's a walleye right there at 50. I'm gonna point the boat at it so I don't make an awkward cast. I had my trolling motor pointed to the side. Where is he? Hey, that might just be the top of a weed too, but sometimes you just gotta look at stuff and just see what it shows you. Something following it. Doesn't look big. Okay. A lot of fish on weed edges, and then a lot of bigger fish I found. And those fish that I see piled up on the edges typically are not as big. Of course you can find bigger ones in there. I'm not trying to say, oh man, there's only small fish on the weed edges, but it seems to be a lot of small fish on the weed edges. And then you're seeing more bigger fish out suspended. And then another thing that we've seen too, like when we've been fishing Walleye League, Brett has caught some big walleyes up on top of the weeds in tournaments for us. So that is, I like to kind of endearingly call those Lindner fish. We're gonna, that could be a walleye right there at 40, but we're gonna go after these two guys right here at about 80. I like to call those Lindner fish because Al, for all those years, I mean, he hasn't used live bait for so long, but he loves ripping plastics. And he sets it, sorry, it's a little hard to tell this, to give this tip and line up this shot. Just want to make sure I make a good cast, because I've noticed they're not moving terribly far for these baits. There we go. I should have stopped that crash a little bit earlier. I don't like to let it catapult right into their face. Oops, that one is looking at it now. Just gonna slowly swim it. He's following it up. We're halfway up to the boat here. Oh, he grabbed it. Oh, geez. How did that happen? That was kind of cool that you guys got to see. That fish followed all the way up. It was almost like a spinner rig, right? But without the blades. Just the night crawler swimming through the water column. And that looks like another good under. We may have a limit of walleye before too long here. That is a perfect eater. Look at him. And we're gonna do the boat flip thing. I'm gonna let him crash on the floor so I don't snap my jig again. There we go. Not bad. I mean, this is like a 18-inch fish. Kind of perfect table fare, if you ask me. Not bad, not bad. You know what? I think we're gonna run this jig and crawler till we get a limit. And then we're gonna try some different stuff. Can't remember if that's 3 fish or 4 fish we got so far. Luckily, they're all in the live well, so I can just count them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Jeez. All right. Well, there we go. We got 4 unders. Awkwardly have to watch me drink some Gatorade. But if we're gonna do this for another hour or 2 hours or 30 minutes or whatever, gonna need to hydrate a little bit. But I'm the worst storyteller in these formats. I'm gonna go back to Al. I fish a lot with Al, and what Al likes to do is he likes to set his boat up not too far off the break. So not only is he covering that weed line, where sometimes those pods of walleyes will sit, but he's also getting his cast to go up above the weeds too. So up into the weed bed, and like I mentioned before, that's where a lot of the biggest walleyes are gonna go. They're gonna be suspended up above the weeds. We'll see if we can find any around here. This lake definitely has some larger fish if we can find them, which I would like to do. I like to hunt down the big fish. There's one. No, we'll see if it's big, but that is a walleye. Looks like there's something going on right underneath the boat too. That's got some walleye vibes, but he's moving fast. So we're gonna find this guy and line him up. Right about there, 50. He didn't move on it. It wasn't a bad cast. So back to the story. Al sets his boat off and he'll cover both those zones. So he catches a lot of bigger fish, and it's because he's targeting those specific fish that are a little higher. It's definitely a little off on that cast. Although I have been close enough that the fish should be moving on it if they are somewhat active, but we're gonna make one last little flip at this fish because he's right there, so might as well. So I'm jigging it kind of right in front of his face there. And he has 0 interest, so we're gonna keep on moving. So, okay, so we're on a weed flat right now. There's kind of a little bowl right in front of us. And I think it'd be interesting to run out into this deeper water here and just see if some of those fish are gonna be possibly willing to bite. There might be some suspended fish out in this little indent here. I had my sunglasses hanging here. Hopefully they weren't bumping the mic and making the audio bad. I have to mess up the audio somehow for this video. I'm not seeing any fish out here suspended yet. So at least there's probably not at least not a lot of them. We're gonna see what some of this is. It's definitely like some bluegills underneath the boat, but let's see what this is. Might be kind of the same deal. Yeah, that doesn't look very positive to me, but I have half a mind to just reel it up right now. Yeah, I don't like that. Something chasing it up. Okay, we're gonna keep on adventuring out into the deep water here. So right now we slipped off into 21 feet. Definitely a little cloud of bait sitting right there. So that is kind of the interesting thing where lake maps are still so important for just analyzing lakes and looking at them and trying to decide what's interesting and areas you should look at. But this is a great example of how ultimately lake maps are less important now than they used to be. And oftentimes the best strategy for finding and catching walleyes is to go to an area that looks good, which, you know, thank you lake map, but then just kind of meandering around until you find something that kind of looks, until you find fish, actually, because basically, like, the fish are going to be all over the place, right? They might be suspended, they might be, where'd we go here? Oh, there we are, we're still a little high yet. The fish could be suspended, they could be up on the cover, they could be on the bottom, they could be out deep, they could be up on top. So you just kind of roam around. Those fish did not move at all on that bait, and that was not a bad cast. But we're gonna make one more cast in these. A lot of times though, like, these are fish that never would have been targeted ever in the past. So it is kind of cool to be able to go out and target these fish. And a lot of the times, these are some of the bigger fish as well. Let's see. I mean, that's an excellent cast. Let's see if he'll come up, and looks like he didn't even move, even a little bit. That's got bigger fish vibes to me. But alas, we will never know. So you can kind of see too, like, what am I looking at? What am I casting at? What am I ignoring? Of course, I could be ignoring walleyes in some cases. Sometimes I'm ignoring the walleyes that I don't want to catch, if that makes any sense. So we're gonna throw into this. Doesn't look good to me, but always sample things just to find out. You may find out that you've been ignoring nice little pods of walleyes. Sometimes walleyes will look like bass. Sometimes they'll look like bluegills. This does not look like a positive development for me here. Oh yeah, that's a bluegill. Okay. Oop, he was even holding on to it for a while there. You can just feel the peck, 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 peck. That's pretty much all you need to know if you're trying to figure out if they're bluegills. So we can look out. I mean, we did see a couple fish float down here, but it does seem like the majority of the fish are still up on the weeds, at least on this spot here. So we're gonna look a little bit more off the structure here in deeper water, just to make sure we're not missing it. But, I mean, you get the idea. You get the idea of what we're kind of looking for. I'm really excited to take this footage and drop it on my camera, my computer, and hear how the audio is. This is like one of my first times, like, running a microphone and just trusting a microphone for this entire process. It's something I should have done more in the past, but you know, I've never really found wireless microphones to be super reliable. But this one right here is actually, you can probably see it, honestly. The brand, it's the new DJI mic, and it seems like it has some good reviews. People are liking it. Got a school of bait fish right there. Not seeing much interesting there. Sometimes you'll see like bigger fish like underneath it, kind of just hunting at the pack. It almost looks like there's something right there on the bottom, but it's hard to say. We're gonna crash this down the bottom and just see if we can get any interesting movements out of there. You just gotta get it past the bluegills first. Okay, we survived we survived the bluegill onslaught, mostly. All right, we're gonna speed it out of there. We don't need to be dealing with gills. So I'm not seeing a lot of what I want to see on this spot out suspended. I mean, right now it's like 66-degree water temperature roughly. So, you know, this is about the time when fish are starting to push out deep a little bit more, in my experience. But, you know, there's different areas where you'll see more suspended fish. But ultimately, you need to go where the majority of the fish are. And I think the majority of them right now are up shallow. And you know, we don't have like a big incentive, a big reason to actually go and try and catch a kicker fish. We still need 2 more for the limit is what we need. So let's just focus on that for now. Maybe we can try a different area of the lake. See if some of the fish are out, some of the bigger fish are out. In those areas. But let's see what we got here. We're starting to sneak up towards the weeds here. Oh, there's a couple. There's a few little fish. I'm gonna slow myself so we don't crash onto them. Where are they? Well, doesn't look super great, but sometimes it's the right kind of stuff. Well, let's throw in there, just because. Just because, why not? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I believe Mark Twain said that quote. No, that's not good. No bueno. But I do see some weeds, which means we're getting back into our territory here. We're back up to 17 feet of water, and now we're gonna start hunting for those bigs again. And when I say bigs, I mean bigger than a bluegill. So, yeah, I kind of find this to be a fun format. I kind of find this to be a fun way to fish too. You know, we're not necessarily setting up the execution line like we did in that first video where there's fish everywhere. We were on Mille Lacs Lake. I'm not going to try and hide it. A lot of people knew, obviously. But this is a local stocked walleye lake. Extremely clear water, a good amount of fish in here, but you know, more heavily pressured fish. And yeah, so a lot of times this can be a little bit tougher fishing on lakes like this. And when I say a little bit, I mean like way tougher fishing. I'm just kind of casting into this little area, seeing if anything pops out. But yeah, these stocked walleye lakes are a lot harder than the natural walleye lakes like Leech Lake, Mille Lacs, Red Lake, Vermilion, stuff like that. It's more challenging, but I kind of enjoy the challenge, honestly. Forward-facing sonar makes it really cool. I am a big proponent of the technology, and there's a lot of haters out there. We talked about this in the first big long video, but I don't know if you guys watched, you know, the last 2-hour video or whatever, but I'm a big proponent of forward-facing sonar. I honestly just think it's more enjoyable, you know, and to me, catching more fish is more enjoyable. So I like it. Obviously, I am not going to use this technology to unethically target fish or whatever. Like, there's concerns of guys snagging muskies or catching muskies in super deep water and killing them, or, like, you know, other species you might not necessarily be eating per se. And yeah, so I mean, that's always going to be a concern, just the ethics of how people are behaving out on the water. But I do not see forward-facing sonar as the problem. In fact, I feel like forward-facing sonar is a tool. And you know, Aaron Wiebe earlier this past winter just kind of showed how it is a tool that could be used for good, in that you can learn a lot about fish from using it. And essentially, you know, you can see what the fish are doing down there. And I really truly feel like if you want to be really good, I mean, the anglers who are going to be the very, very best walleye anglers in the country in 5 years are going to be guys who have been using forward-facing sonar for the last 8 years or whatever it is. Because just the amount of data that you get, the amount of things you can learn, I promise you, if you're using this technology and using it effectively, you're going to learn more in 1 season than you will 10 years of fishing your favorite lake or whatever. So it's a learning tool, right? And if you want to be really, really good and catch a lot of walleyes and know everything you can possibly know about fish, like the fish that you're chasing, then you should probably be using this technology. And if there wasn't so much drama on Facebook about everybody being mad about it or not liking it, or, you know, everybody's favorite Randy Blockett, if there wasn't all like everybody so angry about it, we would all be like, this is the coolest thing ever. And it really is, because you just can learn so much. Learn so much with it, and it is honestly so stinking fun to use. So we're gonna take a cast at that. I don't know that it's necessarily a walleye, but definitely got a fish following us down to the bottom there. Ooh, it's got bluegill vibes. That pop, pop, pop. All right, what else do we got here? Anything we can make a good cast at. Okay, let's keep moving. So yeah, this is a little bit of a mini lull. We sort of scooted into a little bit of a different area than where we were before. So it is what it is. We kind of left an area with fish to see if we can go find more fish. So they say never leave fish to find fish. We kind of did that, but you know, we're always looking for stuff that's better. So this isn't a tournament. This is a YouTube video, so I would like to catch a bunch of fish. But it's not a tournament. We'll be okay if we leave some fish. But I get to show you guys stuff that's a little different, right? Looks like we got something tailing it there. It doesn't necessarily look like a walleye. gonna go. But yeah, that is kind of the old struggle. The fishing is okay. You're catching some fish. They're there. You can see them. Do you leave them? Or do you go and look for something else? So it just depends. If you are seeing a bunch of fish, what I like to do, especially if they look like they're the right kind of fish, I like to just cycle through some presentations first before you do anything too brash. It seems like a lot of times the hardest part of fishing is finding fish. And once you've found them, I mean, you should probably take advantage of the fact that you found them and use your time to try different things and see if you can get them to go. I feel like at the moment we're not necessarily on a ton of fish where we're at. That's one right there. Oh no, that's weeds. Yeah. So we're not on a ton of fish, but we're gonna keep on moving and rolling. Got my trolling motor cranked up to about 9 right now, and we're just kind of chugging along, singing a song. So yeah, that's my sort of advice if you are fishing and you're just not sure if you should stay or if you should go. I will say, if you just pulled up to a spot and this is your best spot, they're always here in the evening after I get off of work. If you go to a spot like that and you're not catching fish, but you're also not seeing fish, then you definitely should probably move on. I'm actually gonna shorten up this range a little bit. Some of you are probably screaming at the screen this whole video telling me I should do that, because a lot of times when you're fishing up in the shallows, it's kind of nice to do that. You can see a little bit better. Looked like there was a fish right there, yep. So that is the biggest thing. Tech like this can obviously help you confirm if there's fish in the area. A lot of times if I was fishing this without forward-facing sonar, I would have moved through this area a lot faster. And maybe I wouldn't have picked off all 4 of those walleyes back behind us. Excuse me. But I probably would have caught some of them. And I probably would have went through a lot more night crawlers, probably would have threw it a lot more bluegills on accident. But the whole point is, like, you're just moving, you're covering water, and when you do find fish, it's kind of a little bit of a rant that I have, or just sort of a strong opinion, is people like, oh man, well, saw it was forward-facing sonar video and turned it off. And it's like, well, why did you do that? You could have learned so much from watching the screen, and you didn't even have to have the technology, you know? So it's really a tool to learn, and it's like, if you don't have to spend the money to buy it, well, you can learn, like, oh, that's really interesting. Fish kind of set up this certain way. And today, one thing you definitely could have learned from watching this, even if you don't have forward-facing sonar, is you could have learned that, like, oh man, there's a lot of water where there are no fish. There are no walleyes, and you can't spend too much time in any one spot if you're not getting any bites. Let's see here. Is that guy following me up or no? No, okay. But like that first area we were in, there were way more fish over there. These are actually the first couple decent marks I've seen in a while, right here, so. But if you don't have forward-facing sonar, you can learn from this video that, hey, sorry, So distracting. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's pull that bait over here. That walleye is actually pretty close already. There we go. He doesn't like that. It gives you an idea. So like in the weeds, a lot of times there's areas where there's no fish. And then there's an area where there's a bunch of fish. And that's just kind of the name of the game with weeds. You need to find those areas where the heavier concentrations of fish are, and you need to focus on those areas specifically. That's a no-go. Maybe we should, let's get crazy here. Let's throw some live bait. Or, let's throw some plastics. I just want to throw this out here. This is just a great weed bait. And that is a Ned rig. Got the Nedster head on there, 3/16 ounce. I got all this line twisted up so it doesn't tangle in each other. There we go. All right, let's make similar casts with the plastic. See if we can get those fish to go on something a little bit more aggressive. Let's see, where's he at? There they are. They look like they're farther away now, but they're only 50 feet because we shortened that range. That might have been a little short. Was a little short, but he is moving on it. Probably should have let that crash to the bottom. Hindsight's 20/20. We really did have a positive reaction to that bait though for the first moment. All right, let's see, where did that other one go? Oh. That's a fish. Crash it down to the bottom. No go. You'll notice though, the fish do seem like they're turning a little bit more aggressively on the plastic. I do think we can get bit on it. We're gonna keep on poking around here. But it's kind of a cool presentation. One thing I do love about plastics is just the fact that, well, number one, you can see them really good on your sonar. It's just a bigger bait, a bigger presentation. It's like a big weed clump right there. Yeah, there we go. It's just a bigger presentation, and but the fish they move more aggressively on it oftentimes. And I've also found, obviously, that you don't have to deal with the bluegills and stuff because they're not going to be picking off your night crawler anymore when you got a plastic on there. Got a jet skier in the background. Hopefully this microphone helps with that a little bit. Kind of excited to take this footage and see if you can even hear that jet skier. I bet you can hear him a little bit. Oh, got stuck on a weed clump there. The nice thing too, if you have a hard time with bite detection, fish usually crack plastics. So it's a lot easier to hear that thump versus if you're just If you're just casually, softly working some live bait, the fish like to come up and just sort of put their lips on it. So there's a little more scattered weed over on this part of the structure. There was some thicker stuff right behind us, but a lot of this is more scattered. We got the right thing there in the suspended, or was that a little? No. Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. I'd like to do some more live videos, but my biggest concern with live in open water is it's so hard to maneuver the boat and field questions. One of the main reasons why I enjoy doing the live in the winter is because I feel like I'm just on the lake in my fish house, just hanging out with everybody. And that will not be the case in open water, at least if I'm doing it by myself. If my wife is out with me, maybe she can read comments and whatever, or maybe I'll do it with a buddy at some point. But yes, with this, a little bit trickier to interact with folks live and also effectively fish. Ice fishing, you can just sit there, right? It's like the easiest thing in the world. But when you're open water fishing, it's not as easy. So we're gonna stick to this format for now. I think we'll for sure do some lives this summer. But if you guys wanna interact, just drop a comment on this video and say, hey, or ask some questions or anything like that. And I won't be able to answer it right now in the video, but maybe I'll do a video on it in the future. Or, you know, either way I can help you out if you have any questions. But let's see, I thought I saw one suspended up in front here. No. Oh, well, there's something. Where's he at? You going? So I have half a mind to motor up. Let's see, how long have we been doing this for? About an hour. I have half a mind to move. Or maybe motor up back to where we were seeing more fish. But yeah, I don't know, we got a lot of options here. Obviously this is a big lake. I'm a little hesitant to move just because when you have everything set up, you know, you don't necessarily want to run, and I guess we won't have to set down the cameras, but if we do run, if I fire up the big motor, I probably will. Let's make a throw into there. If I do fire up the big motor, I probably will fast forward through that part. So I guess it will, this video might be not completely raw and uncut. It might be cut, but only because we're running the big engine and you don't need to just be staring at a screen where the big engine's running for 10 minutes. I suppose that's another advantage to this versus live. Looks like the dock boats are out. So it's June. I find it wild that people are still getting their docks in. So I will say too, so we did this in the last video. I think it'd be fun to do it again in this video. Last video, I don't know if we were like an hour and a half in or whatever. This video, I think we're about an hour. We're about an hour in, a little over that. And In the last video I said post a emoji in the comments, and I had you do a fruit emoji. This time, let's do it a little different. This time let's do a vegetable emoji. We gotta change it up, but we're only doing healthy stuff. There's a lot more crap in the water column over here too, I've noticed. There's a little hump kind of up ahead here. I kind of turned. We were fishing kind of over here and working our way this way, and now I took us a little bit over to this side here. There's a hump I'd like to look at and just see if there are some fish up on it. I'll crank this all the way up to 10 so we can just move. Can still scan a little bit while we're doing this. A little left and right action. The only problem is if you do see a fish, you're on top of them in about a second. Let's increase the range a little bit back out to where I normally run it. I like to run it about 110 feet. I find that to be a pretty good distance. I really actually, let's see. Looks like there are a couple of fish right there, but we're almost on top of them already. I do like to run it around 110, but with how powerful this sonar is, I do feel like you could probably get away with running it even further. Like especially if you're hunting for suspended fish. Obviously, like Garmin has that longer range transducer that folks are using. I heard the guy who won the Bassmaster Classic last, Hamner, he has that longer range transducer, but he's actually using it in perspective mode. At least that's what I heard, at least for whatever event I was reading about. But that would obviously be a deadly tool for chasing suspended walleyes. But on the other hand, here's a lot more weeds over here. Kind of interesting. See if we see anything in here. What the heck was I talking about? Transduce, oh, just the distance. Yeah, I mean, it does make sense to run it at a shorter distance in the weeds. Obviously, like you can see fish from a distance away, still in the weeds, but you do get more definition. But I do like to have this longer range if I am moving a lot faster, right? And you might miss some fish because things are stretched out or pinched down a little bit more. So it's a little bit harder to get the exact definition in between the weeds and whatever. Like here's a really thick group of weeds. You get just a little bit of a better picture when you have it a little shorter like that. And let's go back out to where we like to run it, 110 usually. And it's just a little tougher. Looks like there's a little fish right there, about 25. Just kind of sitting right there. So that's just some food for thought. You know, if you watch videos online, a lot of people are going to tell you to decrease your range in the weeds. So I mean, I think that's a very valid thought process. We're going to throw the crawler back on before he gets too crusty. I don't want to have to put another crawler on. So we got to soak this crawler a little bit again. But we got to keep moving here because I want to get over that hump, and I don't want it to take 100 years to get over there. Just wasting time. And if I don't see any fish on this little hump, we are definitely going to move. There's one. That's one of the disadvantages of the short range. You sneak your way out into some open water, and next thing you know, you're right on top of a fish. And you got to put on the brakes, flip your trolling motor around and stop, and then next thing you know, they're gone. So, but there's one over there. Let's go catch that guy. I wasn't looking. Did he just turn into a weed? Nope, there's one. Was that remotely close to him? Where'd he go? Hope we get some bluegills on there. And we're keeping on moving. We're increasing the range again because I don't like ending up on top of fish before I know it. So yeah, leave a vegetable in the comment section. But we are definitely gonna, I'm just gonna run a straight line. I'm not even gonna stop and look at fish. Unless I see something too stinking good to not cast at. That kind of looks good, honestly. Right there on the bottom at about 70. It looked good. Ended up a little short on the cast. It's like squirrel syndrome, honestly. I just can't stick with one strategy. Oh, I want to run over to this hump. Oh, nope, there's a fish. Gotta stop. I think it's okay if I stop and try and catch these, though. They're a little bit of a bugger. Not a bug eater, but a bugger. Let's toss that Ned rig in there. I do like to have a couple presentations just ready to rip at any point in time. Just so you see a fish that does not react positively, you throw out something dramatically different, and you never know. Sometimes it can make the difference. Looks like this fish is swimming away now, which generally is not a good sign, but let's make one more cast on him. It's a Ned rig, which I kind of like to crash to the bottom a little bit more. So we're gonna get that thing down to the bottom. And that walleye is for sure not very interested. Okay. So I feel like if I was gonna leave a comment, I would probably do broccoli. I'm a big broccoli fan. Steamed. I don't know if they have a cauliflower emoji. Or not cauliflower. Wait, is that what I'm thinking of? No, not cauliflower. Brussels sprouts. I like Brussels sprouts. I don't think there's a Brussels sprouts emoji. I could be wrong about that. I can't say I've looked for a Brussels sprouts emoji. But I like broccoli. So I'll be interested to see what you guys come up with. But the only reason I'm asking for that, like I said in the last video, it's not for the algorithm. I'm not trying to jack up that comment number. I just want to know how many people are actually watching, like over an hour into this video. It's more of like a test. And if you want to too, you can let me know what you think about this format, if you're enjoying that or whatever. But mostly I just want to know if you're still here. If you're still here an hour and change into this video. We actually had some pretty good action, kind of that first 40 minutes or so. So that probably made it a little bit entertaining. We're actually getting a little closer to that hump I was talking about now. We're sort of in the range. So I'm gonna get mentally prepared for that. Mentally prepared to move, because if we don't see anything here, we're actually probably gonna fire up the big engine and go somewhere. What do we, oop, there's a little something in there. Oh, there's a couple in there, that's cool. Could be bass, but we'll see. We're gonna find out. Nope, it's a walleye. There we go, we're one away from a limit. How long is it gonna take us to limit out on a local lake here? All right. There we go. Oops. Got that right on my phone that's recording the live scope. He ate that pretty good. Let's see if I can pop that out with my bare fingers. I gotta run back here and grab my pliers. Pop him out. But there we go. That's walleye number 5. Not a bad showing. Let's see if I can get him. There we go. All right. A little bit of blood coming off that guy as a result. Is that camera still on? I can't see any of the cameras with my sunglasses on. But yeah, that's number 5. One away from our limit. And all of them are unders even too, which is a positive. That means if we catch like a 20.5 incher or something like that, we can still keep them. So I'm typically not keeping too many unders if I don't have to. But I will, I'm not afraid to keep a small over. Did I say I'm not keeping too many unders? Is that what I said? I meant I'm not keeping too many overs usually. Okay, let's shorten our range down and really dissect these weeds a little bit. So you can definitely see a lot of stuff on the bottom still. But there's a lot more of these taller weeds. Those last 2 fish, I don't know if you guys saw it that good, but those last 2 fish were just a couple little blobs in between these taller stalks of weeds. I guess running over to this hump here, or not running, slowly maneuvering our way over to this hump did end up paying off, because we do have one more walleye in the live well. But let's see what we got here. Let's see if there's anything in the weeds worth pitching at. I'm not seeing any blobs like I did before, but because we caught a walleye in there, I'm gonna make a little cast kind of in here and just see if we can get anything to move out of the weeds here. Nothing there. A lot of the weeds are out here to our left. Kind of threw it right into the middle of that big clump here. Another good strategy, I do have tied up, I do have a bobber rig tied up. You can hang a bobber around the weeds here, and if you just want to catch something, something is probably going to swim out of the weeds and end up taking a bite at some point. Whether it's bass or it's walleye, just hanging a bobber can be really effective. We'll probably bobber later. If I find a nice school of fish that I want to target, we'll take a look with the bobber and just see. So I'm swimming that guy right now, about 10 feet down. As you can see, not really seeing anything move out of there off the edge. So let's sneak our way over here. You can see it's coming up a little bit. The depth is coming up. We're going up towards that that hump. Oops, there's one. Let's keep moving. It's like a nice school of bait up there, about 80. Nice patch of weeds. Let's see if there's anything hanging out around these weeds. There's one. Way up there. Oops, I don't think that was a very good cast. Where did my jig go? Work that for a second and try and gather myself for another cast. Definitely some bluegills pecking at the bait in that area. But let's see here. I thought I saw one. Let's see if there's anything that looks good. The best part is you guys get to look at the screen too, and you get to say, Nick, right there. What the heck, Nick? Right there. You're missing them. They're right there. So, let's see here. Not seeing any specific marks, so let's just cast into that weed bed and see if we can get anything, pull anything out of there. Kind of see the jig working through the weeds there, which was sort of neat. Oh, is that one right there on the bottom? All right. It's hard to it's hard to analyze these weeds and also just have casual conversation with myself. Okay, we're gonna pick up and we're gonna move. Even though we caught that one fish, I'm still not ultra happy with how many fish I'm seeing in this general area. So we're gonna take our night crawlers and we're gonna go home. We're not going home though, we're just gonna go to a different spot. All right, let's see. Let's put the crawlers back in our little cooler. I think I'm gonna grab a little energy drink because apparently I'm addicted to caffeine right now at the moment. I've been enjoying it a lot lately. So we're gonna drink some caffeine, but I think we're gonna make a decently long run. So just battening down the hatches a little bit here. Get the scissor, put that here. Shoes can go down here. Yes, I take my shoes off when I fish for some reason. Not when it's cold though. All right, get these bad boys. And I think we're good to go. All right, we're gonna take off. I'm gonna fire this thing up and we're gonna cruise to the other side of the lake. All right, so here we are in the next spot. Let's check these cameras to make sure we're still recording. Good here, audio, and the scope. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're on another spot. So we're gonna look around, see what we can find, see what we can catch. And it looks like there's fish just like right in front of us. Or is that just some bait? We're in super shallow right here, so. We're gonna turn around. One thing I like to do when I'm using live scope is I like to fish. I like to set up downwind and work up into the wind. Looks like we're already seeing some fish here on this spot. This is pretty shallow. We're in the territory where we're definitely looking at a multi-species situation. Let's just pitch right in there. Because why the heck not, right? All right, keep moving. There's a couple right there. Let's make another little pitch into that group. See if we can get something going right away on this new spot. These fish are so close. We're a little bit deeper though, which tells me we might not necessarily be dealing with bass. Hopefully we can find out fast. The fact that they haven't bit yet is, I would say, a really positive thing. Because honestly, you know, when you're fishing in areas where you know you're dealing with bass and walleye and pike and stuff. Pike are the most aggressive I've found. But then like bass are very aggressive. So ultimately, if you're not getting bit, there's a decent chance you might have you might be dealing with walleyes. There's that one fish right on it right there at 20 feet. It's right on that jig. Just gonna shake that thing in place. Okay, let's keep going. I actually do think those are probably walleyes. So that's a good deal. Definitely a situation where you could bust out a bobber, float that bait right in that fish's zone. The only reason why I didn't is just because, well, we just got to this spot and I just want to keep on moving. So we're gonna keep rolling, covering water, just seeing what else we see, because I'd like to know. That's like a pretty steep break right there. I'd like to know what else is going on here, how this whole thing lays out. Looks like we ran over a couple little fish there related to that weed. There's a couple right there. Pretty close to them already. So one coming off the bottom to look. So we're right on the edge of this break. There's definitely some fish hanging out in this general area. They're moving around pretty quick. See if he'll commit. No go. Yeah, they're sort of being tough customers. Of course, the wind has mostly died down right now too. So that doesn't always make it easy. That can make the bite a little more. I can make them a little more tight-lipped. I'm already kind of running the right presentation for tougher bites like this, but a tough walleye is a tough walleye though. Kind of doesn't really matter what you're throwing at them, I've noticed a lot of times. Some things are better, of course. But all we can do is keep cruising here. So now kind of what we're doing is I've got the trolling motor fairly high. I think I have it on 8 right now. And we're just kind of gonna scan left and right. I have my depth range set at like roughly 30 feet. So I should be able to see pretty decently anything that's up shallow, but also if something drops off the edge here deep, I don't need to be targeting fish in 70 feet of water, you know. But I can see the fish that are sitting right off the edge of the break there. There's a few. No go. It's definitely a couple fish sitting in the weeds, it looks like. Let's see. Let's keep moving through. Oh, there's one sitting right on top. That's a cool mark. It's only 20 feet out now. Crashing down to the bottom. That other one came up for it and came up to look. There's the fish you can see underneath. The fish taking off that was looking at the bait. If you've ever gone walleye fishing, you know that sometimes they're tough customers. Here is a nice little wolf pack of fish that aren't gonna sneak up right underneath us. We can kind of bide our time, prepare, make a good cast when we're a good distance away. Let's try 60 feet there. Did we make it? Yeah, we did well. We did well. That was a decent cast. Now all that's left is for them to bite it. So, you know what I think I'm gonna do now? I'm gonna change things up. I'm gonna switch to a drop shot. See if I can get him on the old rusty, trusty drop shot. Let's see here. Got a little crawler on there. So here it is, about 1.5 feet off the bottom. This thing is gonna really crash down there fast, which sometimes can be a little bit of a negative. I could lighten the weight a little bit, but we're just gonna get this right in the zone and see if the fish are gonna do anything about it. It's a really efficient way to target these fish. Just kind of shake it in place, let the weight sit on the bottom, and then just kind of move the line without actually pulling the weight along the bottom. That's usually how I will fish them. Let's see here, let's make another cast. Oh, I like that. Those even look like walleyes to me. So I can I casted that one beyond, kind of penduluming. Why did I choose to say that word? Such a hard word to say. Penduluming back to them. These are tough fish though, super tough customers. Didn't really seem like they followed those baits down the bottom very much. Okay, let's see. One last cast at them. Just kind of reeling it into their zone here. Oop, that one's following it down. It's gonna be a no-go. It's gonna be a negative Ghost Rider. So this is a really finessey presentation. I wouldn't mind putting a little bit of a lighter lighter weight on here. I'm gonna see if I got my drop shot weights in here. I'd like to put a quarter on there, I think. But let's see what we have. I'm just moving a lot of my weights around, putting them in different spots. I'll see if I have a quarter. Here we go. This should be a little bit lighter than this one. I hate to crash it down into them like that. That's normally not how I like to fish these. One thing I do like about the drop shot is you can fish them really efficiently. You can get down to the target. You can be concise. It's really easy to cast. But sometimes you can crash it a little bit too fast, in my personal opinion. That's a little bit of a slower drop speed. Kind of looks like they're moving around, looking at it a little bit. We're gonna go and we're gonna target this next little pot of fish out ahead. Let's see here. Here they are. Let's do a little bit of a bomb cast. One thing I love about the drop shot, super easy to cast it a good distance and be accurate with it. So I just kind of work in place. I got my main line on this setup is braided line, so it's like 8-pound braid line basically. And then I have some lighter fluorocarbon. I actually have 6-pound on this setup. So I really like to go finesse with drop shotting because a lot of these lakes that we fish are super clear around my hometown area. Like right now we're in 13 feet of water. I can easily see the bottom. So that's just kind of the conditions we're dealing with. And the fluorocarbon leader is really long. What just jumped right there? I think that was a loon. Is that a loon swimming around? I saw a loon kind of out in front of us and then I saw the splash. I don't think I'm gonna cast where I think there might be a loon. So we're gonna keep running here. But what the drop shot setup. Yeah, and then I use like a number 2 hook usually. Long shank is the most versatile because you can thread plastics on there. But in addition to threading plastics, you can also just put a little leech on there. I might switch to a leech at some point on this drop shot rig, just because, well, if they're not on crawlers, sometimes they're on leeches, pretty simply. But yeah, we're just gonna keep moving here. Usually crawlers are my favorite option on the drop shot. But you kind of gotta let the fish tell you what to do, and I don't want to stubbornly screw myself over by not following my own advice. I don't like that. I'm casting at these fish almost just below the boat with how clear it is. That's a big factor. Water clarity, no wind. I know some guys who really almost exclusively make shorter casts when they're using live scope like this, but you can't tell me when the conditions are like this that it doesn't pay to get a little further away from the fish. I mean, right now we're a little deeper. We're in 17 feet, and 17 feet of water, 13 feet of water, ultra clear, no wind. I mean, it's pretty much, you want to have them out away from the boat. Oop, darn it. I had him holding on to the back there. I still maintained my crawler, but a little something something there. I like this area a little bit more. Seems like some of the fish are moving around. There's that loon again. Look at those fish that are up suspending 30 feet down. Of course, we're on the bottom with the drop shot right now. There's a couple out at 40. So I throw it at 50. Ooh, that fish is interested. Oh yeah, he followed down to bottom. Let's see if he'll go. We're a little bit deeper, which I think might help with getting bites out here. We're gonna try a leech. Give them something a little bit different. I still have faith in the crawler presentation, but things change. We are, you know, when we got out, I would consider it probably more like late morning. But now we are very squarely in the midday. You know, we didn't get out till about lunchtime, but it still felt more morning-ish. But this is, I mean, the sun is hot. It's getting toasty out here. I'm starting to sweat, and not just because the fish haven't been biting for the last hour, but sweating because it's hot out. All right. Should I pitch at these close ones, or should I keep moving here? I feel like I should keep moving, but let's just toss on them. Are they gonna go down and look at it? No. I feel pretty confident we're dealing with walleyes here. Well, we'll put it this way, it's not a Cisco, and it sure as heck ain't a bass. Or we'd be doing a lot better than we're doing right now for bites. Just soak that drop shot. Let's throw in this little pot over here. $30 off at a weird angle. And I throw 40. I like how they're chasing. I like that a lot. It's the right kind of reaction you're looking for. Now you just gotta hope that they're gonna bite a stinking leech. Like, why wouldn't they bite a leech? I can't think of one good reason. Drop it back in the zone, reestablish. That one followed fast. You don't have to do a lot with the drop shot, I'll say too. You definitely don't want to be popping that weight off the bottom. You mostly just want to move that slack line, but you don't want to move it too much because that leech is moving too, you know? Not really necessary. They're looking at it. But that's all they'll do. We just get a look. We're just gonna keep cruising here. See if we can find some better fish. There's something about 70 out. How you doing? Yeah. You getting them?
Northern.
Northerns? Yeah, that's how it goes. Are you pulling a spoon trying to get northern, or are you going after walleye?
No, I just all screwing around.
Sure. Well, there's a walleye. I hope. Yeah, that's a walleye. There's a few around here.
Yeah, when I first came out, I don't have any live bait or nothing. I stopped on somewhere out here.
Yeah.
They didn't want my paddle, you know?
Sure. Ooh, there we go. That's number 6. Perfect eater. All right. That one actually did go on a leech, yeah. I caught a few earlier on crawlers, but they've been really, these ones up here on this part of the structure have been really hard. They're not super active for whatever reason. All right. So that's fish number 6. All right, so that is our 6 fish limit, all unders. Didn't end up getting that over, which I'm A-okay with. I love eating those unders, but yeah, I moved us out away. There were some people pulling into the spot there. But we're gonna cut the video right here. I think I'm gonna go pick up someone at the dock. My mom is gonna fish with us for a little bit. And maybe we'll fish and put a couple more walleyes in the live well or whatever, just to make it a little bit bigger of a fish fry. But we have plenty right now, which is great. And fun time. I tried to stay as interactive as I could here on the camera, and I think we did pretty good. I think we ended up getting our limit of walleye in a somewhat reasonable amount of time. I mean, if you're up on Lake of the Woods, I mean, you can pound out a walleye on, pound out a limit of walleyes in 20, 30 minutes or whatever. But out here on a stocked local lake where the bite's really tough, I mean, some of these local lakes we'll go out and we'll have tournaments, and we have 24 boats in our tournament, and maybe only 9 of them will even register fish. So it can be really tough out here. We didn't have a lot of wind today. The wind's actually starting to pick up a little bit now. So that can make it a little bit more difficult. So all in all, I think this was a good run. If you enjoyed this video and you didn't watch my last one that I did, where I actually fished for a couple hours and caught some walleyes, and there was some good action, check out that video right here. I'll put it right here on the screen. You can check it out. And this is that'll just be like another good long one that you can sit down and enjoy, maybe play it in the background, whatever you want to do. But thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate the views, and we'll see you in the next one.